Here we go again, folks.
Your chronic illness is very likely reversible.
Based on the decades of counter evidence against everything mainstream, it's been building up behind the scenes in the scientific, many science circles and outside, most likely.
With dietary and lifestyle changes.
Most probably.
Western medicine doesn't always tell you this.
They didn't tell you this for the most part at all. If anything, they did the opposite and they lied. Now they only half-ass peddle it because they're fucking cunts.
But I firmly believe that most autoimmune, inflammatory, or diabetic conditions are totally reversible with an evolutionarily consistent diet.
Most probably, yeah.
What do I think an evolutionarily consistent diet is? An animal-based diet. Or
if you consider liver, only twice a week, an ounce of it into 16 ounces of fucking muscle meat and animal fat, fucking ground meat, or something like that. If you tolerate it more, and you do take taurine, and you do tolerate it more, and it does help you and all that shit, and you don't suffer anything based on your personal constitution, fine. Be fucking careful, though. Same with spleen because of all that animal vitamin C and all that fucking high amount of iron. Same thing. Be very fucking careful. The others, don't worry I wouldn't worry too damn much.
organs, meat, fruit, honey, and raw dairy.
No more than a teaspoon at most of honey, raw honey. Unfiltered, unheated, glyphosate-free, raw honey. No more than a teaspoon a day. And I haven't done that in a while. I only started doing it again with my cold brewed coffees I have when I have egg yolks and cream and a little coconut milk into it and some vanilla. Or I leave the coconut cream out and I go a few pinches of cinnamon if I chose. Whatever. Point is, still, it's, you know, don't fucking suck down fruits like he does. Not, you know, maybe a little bit of some dark colored berries when they're in season or something like that. That's not to fit in the middle of the palm of your hand. At you know, a day, every other day at worst. Something, you know. Don't fucking suck down fruits and shit like crazy like he does. Don't suck down and don't guzzle fucking carbs and honey down your fucking neck either.
These are the most sought after foods by our ancestors.
Honey was also included with other bee products, including larvae. Just thought I'd mention that. Got the source of that too. I'll put it in the description below for that one when I find it.
These are the most nutrient-rich foods.
The meat and organs, yes, technically. Those two organs I mentioned can be easily overdone. Very easily overdone.
These are the least toxic foods for humans.
Except for ODing on vitamin A, copper, and heme iron and vitamin C together. You know, you can OD on those.
Yes, I have concerns that vegetables may trigger autoimmunity in some people. First, cut out seed oils.
Cut them out anyway.
Cut out processed sugar.
Obviously, I don't replace it with fucking fruit, like high sugar fruits like he's doing. You're literally putting yourself back in the same position inflammation-wise. By engaging the fucking Randall cycle and putting visceral fat on your organs and in your side of your abdominals that you don't really easily see, and making yourself more likely to have non-alcoholic fatty liver like poor fucking Ben Saunders. I hope he continues doing well.
Then think about cutting out vegetables.
Or you can just learn how to produce anti-nutrients in certain ones. Kimchi, sauerkraut on occasion. What I said in that video about beans, if you're going to have a quarter of a cup of those at most in a day. At fucking most!
And focusing on organs, meat, fruit, honey, and raw dairy.
Cut the fruit and the fucking honey out if you absolutely must. If you got a sweet sugar addiction like he does. But still, everything I'm saying still fucking stands. And you don't even have to have those little middle grounders I'm talking about. Physiologically speaking, you can generate your own sugar on fucking demand. From lactic acid, converting pyruvic into lactic, glycerin from fat, and then the last that should be the minimal oscillating background one of the 4 substrate uses, gluconeogenesis. Except for 1 meal a day, if you're beginning to eat fat to protein 50-50 to bump your insulin up to keep things regulated and properly working out, you know. Say if you're doing 2 meal a day, that bump at supper time will be the thing needed to keep things going properly and normal, because constant ketogenesis is not a good thing. Neither sucking down fucking carbs.
These are the foods that your ancestors have sought. You are not a prisoner to pharmaceuticals. The mainstream medical paradigm is lacking. Your chronic autoimmune, inflammatory, obesity, or diabetes is reversible.
Yeah, the fucking paradigm's lacking because it's fucking it's rife with fucking fraud back and forth, and has been for fucking almost a century. At the end of this, I'm gonna put my again. I'm gonna use that the clip splicing I did of Joel Wallach and what he said we should do, what he would do to fight the quack fascism that's running rampant throughout the world, especially here in Big Pharma, central of the states.
You see, there's no law requiring doctors to cure people when there's a cure available. There's no law requiring doctors to prevent diseases in people when the prevention is known. Now, if it were my way, if I were the U.S. Surgeon General, the first thing I would do is pass a law. You see, as this agency, they can make a law. They don't even need to go to Congress and get it approved. They could just make a law. Well, I would make a law by fiat. I would make a law that said that if there's a disease that is curable with anything, whether it's an herb or a drug or a nutrient, if it's curable and the physician just treated the symptoms as opposed to curing it, there was a cure available, I would put them in jail for a Class A felony for 25 years to life. And by the time you did it to the first 1,000 physicians, the rest of them would start recommending the cure, right? Because they wouldn't want to go to jail. But of course, that's not going to happen. The pharmaceutical and the medical lobby is too powerful, so that's not going to happen. Now, this was known 290 years ago. The first U.S. Surgeon General, a guy by the name of Benjamin Rush, who was an MD, realized that the different philosophies of medicine were fighting amongst each other. They were actually having gunfights in the street. Certain groups of medical doctors would take over a hospital and lock the doors, and the other groups of medical doctors would march down to the town armory and get a cannon and blow the door off. And they go in and have gunfights because one was homeopaths and the other ones used herbs and the other ones liked physical medicine and stuff. They were literally having gunfights over this. And so Benjamin Rush, who was the top surgeon for the Continental Army during the Revolution, George Washington personally appointed him as the first U.S. Surgeon General. There's a very famous story. He said that he wanted an amendment in the Constitution which said that people would have their choices of medical sciences. He said, if we don't have an amendment in the Constitution giving people their choice, free choice of which medical science they want, like their choice of religion and freedom of speech, he said, somewhere along the line, and I'm quoting him now, one class of men will take over the medical sciences and it will be the Bastille of America. Now, his fears have become our nightmare 290 years later because the free enterprise system has never taken place in the medical industry since the American Medical Association was formed. Everything they've done for the last 100 years was not to learn how to treat patients better. Everything they've done for the last 100 years has been designed to kill off all competition.